This might sound like a weird place to start, but I need you to know this part first, or the rest won't really land right. Growing up, I was always fascinated by my Uncle Cameron. He wasn't a blood relative, not technically anyway. He'd been my dad's best friend since forever and had been around long before I was born. I don't remember a time in my life when Cameron wasn't just there. He was at every birthday party, every barbecue, every random Wednesday when my dad needed help with something and called him over. He was like family to us, and we treated him that way. Always. But here's the thing. No one really knew much about him. He never talked about his past, never mentioned his own family, and any time I asked about where he came from, he'd smile and change the subject. My dad always brushed it off and told me Cam was just one of those guys who likes to keep it simple. But even as a kid, I knew that wasn't really true. What stood out most was how paranoid he was about certain things. He never took photos, never gave out his last name, always paid for things in cash, even when it made no sense. And he had this weird habit of scanning every room like he was checking for exits or something. I used to think he was just super cautious, or maybe even a little eccentric. But then there was this one time, when I was maybe 13. I was home alone and Cam showed up unannounced. My parents weren't home and he seemed off. He looked like he hadn't slept in days and kept asking me if I'd noticed anyone parked outside the house or if anyone had asked about him. I told him no, and he just nodded and sat in silence until my mom got home. He left without saying much, and after that, my parents didn't talk about it again. Years went by, and nothing really came of it. Eventually, I stopped wondering so much and just accepted that Cam was weird but harmless. By the time I was 24, I had moved out and was living in Colorado, working as a freelance photographer. I had just finished a shoot in the mountains and was heading back to my apartment when I stopped at a diner off the highway. It was one of those small town places with just enough charm to feel safe, but empty enough to feel a little unsettling. I ordered coffee and was flipping through the photos on my camera when I noticed a black SUV pull into the lot. Three men got out, all wearing dark jackets. They didn't look like locals, and immediately I got this bad gut feeling. One of them walked into the diner and, without ordering anything, he sat down 2 booths behind me. Didn't say a word. He just sat there, staring straight ahead but not really looking at anything. I tried to ignore it, but when I looked out the window and saw the other 2 guys still standing by the SUV, watching the entrance, I started to panic. I paid and walked to the bathroom instead of leaving. I locked the door and pulled out my phone. I didn't know who to call, so I texted Cam. I don't know why him specifically, but something told me he'd know what to do. I texted him exactly what was happening and where I was, and to my surprise, he called me instantly. His voice was calm but serious, and he told me to stay where I was and not to make any noise. He said he'd handle it and hung up. No, be safe. No, don't worry. Just, I'll handle it. 10 minutes later, I heard the front door of the diner swing open. Loud and heavy footsteps followed. I couldn't see what was happening, but I heard shouting and then silence. Complete silence. I waited another 5 minutes before slowly unlocking the bathroom door and peeking out. The diner was empty. My server was gone, the guy in the booth was gone, and so were the 2 outside. Only thing left was a $20 bill on my table and an untouched cup of coffee. I got into my car and drove straight home. Didn't stop, didn't look back. When I got there, I found Cam sitting on the steps outside my apartment, smoking a cigarette. He looked exhausted. I asked him what the hell had just happened, and he said only this: "You were never there." Got it? I tried to push for more info, but he shut down. Told me not to ask again, and that if anything like that ever happened again, to call him. Not the cops, not my dad. Just him. I agreed because, honestly, I was too freaked out not to. I didn't hear from him again for 6 months. And then, last winter, I got a call from my dad saying Cam had passed away. Heart failure, they said. And I guess it made sense. He wasn't young anymore, and he'd smoked a pack a day for as long as I could remember. but something about it didn't sit right with me. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name on the front. Inside was a flash drive and a note that said, "If something happens to me, play this and do what it says." I still haven't played it. It's sitting in my drawer right now, and every time I open it, I feel this creeping sense of dread, like whatever's on it isn't meant for someone like me, someone normal. I don't know if Cam was involved in something dangerous, or if he was running from something, or someone. But I know this, he saved my life that day. And I don't think it was the first time he'd had to do something like that. Part of me wants to know who he really was, but another part of me is scared to find out. Because once you open a door like that, you can't really close it again, can you?